Greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott, and this is my Market MRI Pro Update for June 3rd, 2025. Big day, as you can see from my title. I asked the question, will the market reach new highs following the small cap R2000 trendline breakout? After hours, Guidewire up 8.9, Health Equity up 5.1, Uranium up 4.3, while ASAM was down 6.6, and probably more important to the markets, CrowdStrike was down 5.7, all on earnings. And as I do this at 10:21, the futures are modestly down, minimally down, probably a better word. All right. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jeffrey Scott, and my email address is marketmripro@gmail.com. You can also use the old one, hgsidoc@gmail.com. And my Google group is called Top Down Trader. I do these most nights, although I don't always post them on YouTube. I often post them in my Google group, which is free and the best way to keep in touch. As always, this video is for educational purposes only. Anything we talk about should be taken in the spirit of education, not investment advice. The intent of the video is to demonstrate the tools of top-down analysis and how I apply them. Trading involves risk, and you alone are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock mentioned in this report. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky, and you should consult with your financial advisor before making trades. And I have tools in multiple platforms, but for this video, I'm going to concentrate on Market MRI Pro. Find my mouse. There we go. We're about to head over to Orange County, where we have our 3-day meeting, June 6, 7, and 8. Residence Inn and Suites, $400 for 5 speakers. 3 days of great education. It may be dropped to 4 speakers. I might have lost one. There's internet or live. I'm not sure there's any seats available live, but internet's definitely available. And if you sign up before the meeting, and you're also a member of Top Down, which is free, I'll give you a 100% rebate of your $400 seminar fee plus an additional $100 off my tool. So that would be $500 off the Market MRI Pro. And for more information, please contact Greg Mills at gam72054@aol.com. And John Person, Chris White, Matt Caruso, and myself look forward to 3 great days of education. I mentioned my Google group. Just go to Google Groups, sign in with your Google ID, search for Top Down Trader, and then let us know how you'd like to be contacted. And then know your news and earnings before the market. On Wednesday, we have ADP employment. We got Bostic and Cook speaking at a Fed listings event. And then we've got a final services PMI, ISM services, and then 2 o'clock, the beige book. So there's some things there that could move the market. We got jobless on Thursday and employment report on Friday. So there's still some market moving opportunities to come in the next couple days. Earnings are not done yet, although they're certainly lightening up. Before the open tomorrow, you got some Dollar Tree really starting to slow down. 5 Below, PVH after hours, among others. And it's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. It is bad judgment to not know when your stock's earning date is scheduled. Now I'm just revisiting my boxes because I've gotten some comments saying, but Jeff, you've got 200 stocks in here. Why would I even care? How am I going to use that? Well, you're right. You don't have the opportunity in most cases to buy every stock, although you could buy baskets of the boxes in some of the brokers. But I just wanted to show you some of the leaders, and that's how I use this. I create my box list. I look at this group inclusion report, excuse me, the GPA report every night to see what things are breaking out. And look in the lower left-hand corner. How many of you are up 273% since the bottom on April 7th? How about 107.74? Well, here's 5 stocks that are basically up 100 to 200, almost 300%. And that is in as little, less than 2 months. That's how I use the boxes. I make my lists, I look at their performance, and I find the ones that are going to break out and lead. And boy, oh boy, have these 5 stocks led higher. Let's go take a look at the charts. Close that. If we look in the daily briefing, we could see on the major index ETFs that I follow up here, Bitcoin was up 1.75%. But look at the Russell. The Russell was up twice everything else in the market on Tuesday, up 1.61, Q's 0.78, dollar 0.66, spiders 0.57, diamonds 0.54. Everything was up, and they all closed in the upper part of their range. Volatility was down 2.2%. At 12 months, we have net new highs versus new lows on both the NYSE and the NASDAQ. And if we look down here, risk on with technology, energy, materials, industrials, discretionary, the leaders to the upside. And downside, real estate, surprisingly communications, Meta was down a little bit. Staples, finance, healthcare, utilities were the ones to the lower part. So a risk on session in the market. The big leadership was solar, blockchain, uranium, especially after Meta announced a big deal to buy energy for, I think, Constellation. Van Eck Semiconductors up, oil production, mining, Internet of Things, retail. Almost feels like the good old days here. And if we look over here, you could see blue or green is greater than white. So sectors, more of them were up today across the board, more industry groups up today. And 79% stocks in the S&P 1500, 66 in the NASDAQ, and 70 of the NYSE, 70% were up. A very bullish day indeed. Now, you might ask, was this enough to flip the weekly Russell? And the answer was yes. And even more importantly, look at what we took out here. Here's the trend line, touch, 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 and a breakout. So there's multiple touches. This is probably a meaningful trend line. It took out the WMA as well. If it can hold here, it can start to look like the others who are having the ultimate V-shaped recovery. My goodness, how could you have any more of a V-shape than what we have here? I mean, I thought V-shaped recoveries are rare, but it looks like we've got one here. So on the weeklies, everything is green, so we're in a buy signal on the weekly, although remember they don't close until the end on Friday, but the Russell has flipped. And on the daily, which we've talked about quite a few times, the daily is in a long-term, in a buy signal, and it's been going on for many days. And here, you can look down here, you could see going back to late April, 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 April. So I feel good about the markets here. I think there's a fair chance that the markets are going to go higher, and I am long the markets. If we look at the U.S. index ETFs, we could see, again, on the dailies, riding up this trend line as part of the V-shaped recovery. You should probably take that trend line now and pull it down further. Well, I'll do that later. But clearly we are in an uptrend that now we're above the 200 on the diamonds, the Qs, and the spiders. And then look at this on the Russell, a break of a pretty strong downtrend line, and look at all the touches on the way down. That looks meaningful to me. So strong day in the markets. You could see big white bars everywhere. Volatility, as you might expect, was down. And it says here it was down 1%. And the dollar was up a little bit as we saw broad strength up 0.66. On the commodities, you can probably guess if risk on is back. Then gold and silver gave up some. So gold gave up just a bit, 0.89%. Silver an inside bar day, 0.48. So really neither gave up a lot. They're both trading near recent all-time highs. Oil finally broke above the 50. I think there was less new production than expected from OPEC. Will it make a run at the 200? Energy has underperformed. It was good today. It'll be interesting to see if we can get participation by energy. And then we've got a nice positive day, up 0.5% UNG on the 200. If we look at rates, you can see the 10-year really finished flat, and the 30-year looks like it was down just a tad, 0.3%. Are we running into a resistance area on both of them? We'll have to see. Kind of a wedge in here. This looks like it's been a challenge before, and maybe this was a false breakout. If I go into the buckets, you're going to see still very neutral. Only 6% above on the NASDAQ, 6% on the Russell 2000, 1% on the 1500, 3% on the NYSE. Much more bullish than it looked a couple days ago, but still not at a point where I am concerned. On market breadth, there was a change. Look at the strong candle on both the NYSE and the NASDAQ. Down here, you could see that the stocks above the 50, above the 20, above the 200 on both actually flipped up a little bit. And when you get down here and you look at new high, new lows, advanced decliners, and up-down volume positive throughout, it was a strong day in the market. And then you did have a bango, which is one of these exuberance to the upside days on the NASDAQ. By itself, doesn't tell me much, just something I'm pointing out. And on the ratio charts, I just wanted to show you that technology turned up. Discretionary held up, although at the end it gave up some. And as we look at staples, utilities, real estate, and healthcare, every once in a while you get a little spurt higher when we go defensive, but they're really not leading. Materials picked up some here short term, and industrials went back a little bit positive in the session on Tuesday. As we go into the JAS layout, this is where I do most of my top-down analysis. So far, let's just say I'm bullish the market. To be transparent and clear, I'm bullish to a point. We've had a massive move up, and that is awesome. And I expect us to at least threaten prior highs. And there's probably an area up here that I think could be challenging to get through, and that's at 610. So that's less than 4% away from here. So I am bullish, but I do expect at some point this market to at least consolidate further sideways or maybe pull back into support. I'm not looking for a significant breakdown. As we go back to the layout, let's just run the JAS impulse. Okay, so this layout starts with all the stocks in my JAS list. You can use any of these lists up here that you want. And what's really cool now is you can now make new layouts. Or what I wanted to show you over here was if you don't like the names of these, you can change them, or you could say put a new one in like HGS I, and I think I hit something. Okay, you can see I've typed in HGSI top 50, and it'll be up here somewhere. There it is. So I can start adding additional columns if I want. I can also rename these, which I did. Let's go into the impulse. Let's look at the JAS list. And this is all the stocks in the NYSE, the NASDAQ, and the Amex. And then we filter them for $1 and 100,000. They have to be greater than those. And that number is in the 35 to 3,600. Today we have 3,619 on a bullish day in the market. Now each of those, as you could see here, let's see if that'll do it. As you can see right here, is put into a sector and industry group, and therefore I can go to my top down and I could see the sectors, and these are not the S&P 500 sectors, they're the JAS 3600 sectors, whatever that means. And you can rank them by what was top in the market. You can see energy and tech. So we might look at those, and let's look at the different industry groups that are in energy and tech, and there's solar on top, 2, 3, 4, uranium, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Let's put the explorers in 2, and that gives me 333 stocks. And I might come now in here and filter them for price of $5, volume of 500, hit OK. And let's just rank it by how many up dots we have. So UUU, which I was looking at here, this one actually looks kind of interesting. Uranium was hot. Now this is certainly not the market leader. It's probably getting, well, I don't know if it's, I would say it's extended here. Definitely not the market leader. The leader would be CCJ, but it's moving up in a nice uptrend, had a pullback and a breakout, massive volume, a CPR change, gap volume, breakout momentum, relative strength and OBV look good. And I just added down here, if you go into indicators, and you may not have it in yours, but you will soon if you don't. I think you will, just the power trend, which we'll talk about at my meeting. UEC is another uranium, similar looking chart, pull back and breaking out. Those are two cheap ones. Cactus is an oil services company. Vital Energy. Boy, the energy comes. The oil services are sitting up here nicely. Here's On Semiconductor, again, way below the 200, which to me is a danger sign. But one certainly could be looking at this here with this pullback and breakout. More energy. You know, it says something, I think, when we see so many energy and oil services doing well with big aggressive moves here and the dots. So I'm looking for something in an uptrend with a pullback and a breakout. I don't see that. Maybe Credo, but boy, what a big move was this on earnings. We can go up here and you could see earnings came out 6.2. Big quarterly change. Boy, they've been big. Big surprise. Big revenue change. Wow. Something's going on with Credo. Don't like the fact that it finished well off of its highs. In fact, it finished down here, I think, at 71.92 at the bottom. But those are impressive earnings per share growth. So I usually start doing that, and we've now knocked out the top 10. Another thing I like to look at is, go back here, is look at all the industry groups and rank them by performance. This is all the groups. And when I don't see a name here, it usually means trouble. CEP, so it's a IPO, I'm sure, or something weird that just did that. When I see this, looks like something that hard. I don't know what happened here. I'm not going to make anything up. But Cantor Equity Partners, I think, is this a Bitcoin? I think this is a Bitcoin story now. But we don't care. If it's no name in the industry group, then it's not classified. So we could do the top 3, 4, 5. Look at the top 5. And again, the same things are up at the top that we looked at. So that is top down, and we could certainly look at some of those uranium or some of those energy plays. The other thing I like to do is go into the impulse, and then I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to add the pullbacks and uptrend screen. Hit OK, rank by up dots, and take a look. So UUUU keeps coming to the top. To be transparent, I did take a small position in it today to watch it. UEC, STR, let's see if anything looks good. Dollar General, what a nice breakout, pullback, breakout. I think this must be on earnings. Earnings 6.3. Big surprise on earnings, small surprise on revenue. Pays a 3% dividend. Pretty impressive move there. CNM, Core Main, Thor Industries, Tidewater. And I would go through the list. Now these are uptrends. If you count this as the bottom, I'd rather buy things above the 200. This one looked interesting. I think this is another earnings play. Signet Jewelers, big surprise on earnings. Not that exciting. So far, I like the best is that uranium play. So uranium looks interesting. MRC as an oil services company breaking above the 250. I like that one as well. And then my favorite scan is to come in here, click 2-day Momo up, make sure I got price over 5, volume over 500. You don't always see them. And we got a bunch. So let's just look at these very quickly. These are looking at 2 days in a row of that dot, those dots there, which are my momentum. That being a squeeze, relative strength that OBV picked up. UMAC, unusual machines, no idea what this is. I'm not going to try and figure that out now. We could look over here, see if there's any news on it. Virtual Tech, unusual machines, manufacturer drone components. Well, that's probably why it's moving. Multex, Moonlake Therapeutics, I think there's a takeover bid on it today. So Merck is holding talks to buy for more than $3 billion. Where's the market cap at right now? It may not have anything because it's such a recent IPO. GPRK, too far down. AGEN, another healthcare stock. This one had an acquisition or sold some assets today. Strategic collaboration. That's nice. All right. Cheap stock. SLNO, Soleno Therapeutics. MIT. ACGC, ACIC, American Coastal Insurance, Financial Services. Does it pay a dividend? It pays a 3.74% dividend. Kind of steady earnings. Not that exciting. If you want looking for an insurance company that pays a dividend, relative strength, and OBV moved up. It's not extended. Again, not the most exciting thing. And this is one of my more interesting biotechs, TGTX. Took a cancer therapy off the market and they're reintroducing it as an MS drug, which has much better pricing power. If you like buying things off of support, you're getting close and maybe it's starting to move up. So I guess if I put it all together, you know what? I'm still stuck on the uranium stocks. So I like it, and I'll be looking to see what it does in the morning. I'd expect it to maybe pull back a bit before it goes higher. But all you had to do is listen to CNBC for a few minutes today, and you heard the excitement of uranium. And just out of curiosity, those 5 stocks that I mentioned as the big leaders off the bottom, SEZL, I actually have a position in this one. Praveen, if you're listening to it, you missed a split. It is a big split too. Um, so this one really is in a straight line up. This was a split, but you could see it's moving up nicely. CRMD, big run off the April 7th bottom. Carvana, all you can say is wow. April 7th was this bar here. The next day it broke out. Wow. Oddity, ODD, don't even know what they do. Software, um, don't like where it closed. These are not necessarily things you want to buy now. HIMS, pulling back here. So there have been some big movers, haven't there? I own Sezzle, I own Hood, um, I own SE, and let me see what else I still have, and Palantir. Those are my main holdings, and I also have some CELH, and the reason for that is beverages sometimes hold up if the markets pull back, and CLH has been looking pretty good as well. Buy leaders and hold them, I think, is the message of tonight. We'll see all my buddies and friends this week in Orange County. If you haven't registered yet, think about joining us online. I'll show you how to find these leaders early. That's Matt Caruso's topic as well because it's such a great topic. And hopefully we'll have a great showing and look forward to seeing y'all.